Now let's take a look at the display text behavior. So again, we'll create a new actor, drag that into our stage here. And we're going to double click on the actor here in our inspector so we can get into its brains. And let's start adding some intelligence. So let's drag and drop the display text. And you can see we have a few attributes here. The text is hello world, so we can type anything we want. So we can type in something like game salad. We can choose whether it's aligned to the left, to the center, or to the right. And we can also choose to wrap inside the actor. So depending on how big the actor is, we may or may not check that. And then you can choose a font. So we'll just stick with Arial, the size, and then the color. Now if you notice, our actor is actually white. So if we have white for a color, we might not see the text show up. So I'm going to drag that down to a darker color. I did that by simply clicking on this color box. And let's click preview and see what happens. So we can see that game salad is being displayed inside this box, but it kind of disappears off to the edges because our scene is pretty much the same color as the text. So let's check out a few things here. Let's click wrap inside actor and see what happens. We'll preview that. And you can see it's trying to fit that text inside the actor itself. If I turn that off and switch the color to something that's not black, so maybe we'll go with a kind of greenish aqua, and then we'll preview that. You can see that it's not actually getting cut off, it's just that the background was black and our text was black, so it's being extended out along this area. So maybe you just want to display text and you don't actually want the actor there, this white box. Well, there's a few things we can do. First, we can change the color of the actor. So you can see I'm inside the actor again, and over here in the attributes we have color. So I can switch that to pure black and then preview. And you can see the actor is now matching the background, so it looks like it's disappeared even though it's still there. The other thing we can do is if we have our actor set to a specific color, we can drag in an image that's fully transparent, which we won't worry about right now. But we can also go down into color where it says alpha and it says 1. If you double click on that 1 and type in 0, then now your alpha is 0, which means it's going to be completely invisible or completely transparent. So now we can't see our actor at all. Now the problem with that is when you're back here in your workspace, you can't actually see the actor anymore. See, I just have to kind of click around until I find it, which is somewhat a little inconvenient. So you may or may not want to do that right when you're developing things. So let's preview this one more time and we have our game salad text. Now this is kind of exciting, but it's also kind of boring in the sense that it's just displaying text. So maybe you want to just create titles, but more often than not you're going to create all those titles and that text in some sort of graphical program like Photoshop, because you have a lot more options there and a lot more fonts to work with, and you're often not going to kind of use this ugly looking text here inside game salad to create something like this, like a title. Where you may use this is if you want characters to say things and maybe text show up in little bubbles above their head, but you don't want to actually create all that stuff inside Photoshop. You want game salad to create it, or if you don't want to use graphics, I should say, to create that. See, I've lost my actor now, so that's why that transparency can be a little bit difficult to work with sometimes, or that alpha. So I'm going to click on actor 1 and just delete that right now. We'll delete that. And I'll create a new actor 1. When I deleted that actor, it actually deleted from the stage here as well, even though you don't see it anymore. So let's just repeat this. So what we want is, again, another event. When something happens, we want text to be triggered. So it's a little bit more exciting than it just being a title on the screen. So let's double click on our actor 1 and let's set this up again. Last time we just dragged the text in here, and if we hit preview now, we're just going to see hello world, which isn't what we want. We want to create another rule. If you don't know what a rule is, watch the last video, because that video I explained for the very first time what rules are and how powerful they are. So let's create a rule. And in this rule, let's basically describe what we want to happen. Well, when actor receives, and in this case I'm going to switch over to key, and then I'm going to click on this keyboard and click the space bar. then we want it to display text. So I'll drag the text down in there. So what have we done here? Again, don't get overwhelmed by this. It's actually really simple language. When this actor, meaning actor 1, has this key, the space bar, pressed or down, then we want to say the text that's in this text box here. So I'm just going to change the color of our actor again to be black, so it's kind of not there. All right, so if I preview this, we see nothing. But if I press the space bar, it says hello world. And if I let go of the space bar, it disappears. So now, again, you can see how very powerful adding rules is, because we go from just simple actors moving around the screen like mindless little zombies. We now have interactions. So every time I press the space bar, we say hello world. Hello world, hello world. So let's actually make this a little bit more interesting. I want you to know that you can actually duplicate these rules. I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key, depending on whether you're a Mac or a PC, and I'm going to click on the top bar here where it says the rule, and I'm going to click and drag and duplicate that entire rule. The reason I did that is because it's just once you set one rule up, maybe you have a few behaviors attached to it, it's easier to just duplicate it if you're going to use those behaviors again. So watch how quickly we can start to change things. So when actor receives event, let's change this. Click on our keyboard again. Let's do the left arrow. Then let's say left. I'm actually going to switch this top one. Instead of spacebar, let's make it the up arrow. So when actor has the key up arrow pressed, we'll just change this text to up. And I bet you can imagine what I'm going to do if I duplicate this rule a few more times. So again, Alt or Option, click on the top of the bar here, and just drag this down. We've duplicated it. So click on the keyboard again. Let's click on the right arrow, and then let's type in the word right. And that's it for now. So if I hit preview, well, basically if I push the left arrow, we get the word left. The up arrow, we get the word up. And the right arrow, we get the word right. So you can see I can push all of these and get a very cool interaction here. So I know we haven't created a very exciting game with many levels and characters, but you really have to take a moment to understand how powerful this is. Just creating these simple interactions where now I'm pressing things on my keyboard are now changing things inside GameSalad. This is the basis of everything that you're going to be building. So you might think that's boring, but also think about how simple that really was. So you've learned a few key attributes, how to destroy something, how to make something display text, and it's all through the system of creating rules. So take a moment to create some text, have it display, play with the actor's transparency and its background, because again, you don't want just a big white block sitting there as this text is showing up. And then create some of these rules that I just created. So you don't just have text showing up, but you have to press a keyboard button to actually get that text to show up and do what you want. And as we're getting familiar with these rules and not getting overwhelmed, we've already looked at something like overlap and collide in an earlier video, and we've now looked at key. But often you're going to be developing GameSalad games for iPads and iPhones, which is all a touch interface, and we're not using the keyboard. So in this case, we can actually switch it to touch. So now, when touch is pressed, then we get the word, let's just say touch. Okay, so we have when touch is pressed, we'll get touch. When the left key is pressed, we'll get left. When the right key is pressed, we'll get the word right. If I hit preview, I can press the left key, I can press the right key, and then if I click where the actor is, so I'm just clicking on the actor. In this case, because we're developing on our computer and simulating an iPad environment, we can't actually touch it unless you have a really cool touch screen on your computer, but in my case I don't. So the mouse click will simulate a touch, so if we click on the actor, we get the word touch. So you've learned quite a bit. It's all very, very, very simple, but you've learned quite a bit, and I really, really hope that you practice every single one of the steps that I just showed you, because creating these rules are the basis of everything that you're going to be doing inside GameSalad.